Hey, Denise, you guys, people can't unmute. Tell anyone want to share what's going on in their world. Ryan, you got to tell us what's the weather like in Florida, Ryan Minton, because not all of us are in quite the Florida
Not
feeling.
all of us are in Florida, Ryan.
It's extremely hot. It's already
Oh,
brutally hot here.
I'm I'm sad for you. No, I'm not. Nice to see you, Ryan, Michael, York, Warren. Is that Warren McDonald? Oh my gosh, long time no see. Good to see you, my
Please.
friend. Denise.
And you too.
I know Jason's here because his note taker's here. Mark, Lorna, welcome. Leslie. Oh, sorry, Lena. Leslie, I got to put my glasses on for this. Deb Fletcher's in the house. Amir. Oh my gosh, Cheryl Harris. Look at all these familiar faces. Yahoo! Catherine, Cheryl, you're going to be talking. Oh, or I think you're going to be talking to Chris soon. Catherine, Vicky. Oh my gosh, you guys, this is going to be so much fun. This is Summer Brand Camp. Welcome everyone to Chris and Jane's Summer Brand Camp. Do you remember one time at Brand Camp? We have had a lot of fun with this in the past. And we did one of these right at the very, very, very smack beginning of COVID. Chris, that was, I would say, epic. I'm going to call it epic.
It was, and that's why we want to do this all for you again, because each one of you are in your own world, and I think most of you have interacted with us enough to already have a brand pretty well developed. But the idea for the next 2 to 3 hours, for as long as you can be with us, is to sharpen the brand, to make it little tweaks, little edges, little ways that you can get better. And especially in the third part of our time, I'm going to share 3 AI tools that I think are incredibly helpful. One that will literally create videos for you. You just upload your keynote, and then just say how many things you want out of it. And the AI tool will just generate social media content for you, which is really helpful and saves a lot of time. And then we just want to help you guys sharpen the brand, sharpen all the little parts of it, but as well in our breakout sessions to just get together, and we're going to break people into like groups of 5 to 10 and just see what's going on in other people's world. The unique thing about Jane and I is that when it's you're in your own world and speaking, and you have a few other peers that you connect with often, where Jane and I might interact with 16 to 20 of you in a given week. And so we see someone over here doing it one way and someone over here doing another way. And, 3 people will be like, oh, the industry's down and things are not great. Well, and then 7 will be like, it's amazing, I'm full. Right. And so we want to kind of bring that collective ability for all of us to say, hey, it's a good time. Let's get together for 3 hours. And I promise you that you're going to get some really, really tactical and helpful, but a lot of times just reminders today that make you better at what you do. Cool.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, welcome to Summer Brand Camp 2025, everyone. I am just absolutely thrilled. Chris, we had 177 people register for our program. My goal, you know how you usually just get a small fraction of that. My goal is that we had 60, and we're already sitting 52. So just FYI, guys, we are going to have a really amazing group today. And because there's a lot of group and a lot of activity and a lot of chat, please don't be disappointed if we aren't able to accommodate every single piece of the puzzle there for you. Now, Chris just shared. Chris, could you share the workbook again? There's a piece that you can use to follow along here. He has put so much thought into this, you guys. I don't know if you know how lucky we are, but we are so lucky to have the genius mind of Chris West available to us today. I see a lot of my clients on the row here, and I'm just so grateful that we get to pick your brain today, Chris. So we're going to start with a question in the chat just to get the chat warmed up. And apologies if we don't get to say yours out loud. What is your theme or focus for this year? What is your theme or focus for this year? What is your theme? I'm just going to write it in, or focus for this year. And Chris, while we're loading those up in the chat, let's share yours and mine. My focus has been my word. I have one word for mine, and it's intention. And it has been my word for a couple of years now. I'm intentional about everything I do in my business now. And we're going to have a little mindset piece that we cover here in the beginning. And I think that's going to be terrific. Chris, do you want to share what some of the people's, and share yours first?
Yeah. Mine this year is an idea of whatever it takes. Have you been around the kind of people where there's a few things that I want to get done well, and you so rarely are around a person where they will do whatever it takes, right? And whenever you're around those kind of people, it lights you up. That's been my theme this year, and there's a couple things I'm pursuing, and I will do whatever it takes. There's just no little, not 99%, 100%, whatever it takes, I will do it.
I love that. And that's going to lead right into our mindset piece beautifully. So we've got Steve, self-care for healthcare, Jurgen, creating a fundraiser, Amy, reconnect with your creativity, Cheryl, launch and grow. Let me go back down here. Stacy, profitable and growing, speaking business, Catherine, aligned expansion, Kat, helping clients through optimal rate of pay, Mark, launch speaker brand, Lena, rebranding under my red thread. Penny, hi Penny, my focus is focus, love it. Janice, good to see your name, launch an extended learning program. Amir, focus is to codify our message and clearly articulate our methodology to our clients. Brian, launch, just getting started. Mark is consistency. Mark is actually a coach in our Wealthy Speakers School mastermind, Chris. So I'm excited to have him on the line. Adriana, expansion. Greg, finish my program, more cash money. Stan, glocal. That might be global or local or both. I applaud you if you've made up your own word there. Talisa, connect and market. David, brand clarify. I am going to continue on and move us into a little mindset piece. Chris, if you can kind of take note of where we finished there.
Yep.
I really want to talk about there are only two things required in the speaking business to have success. Let me just share my screen with you guys here for a second. I'm actually going to share my iPad so that I can do a little manipulation with it here. Okay. So there are only two things required in speaking to have success. Number one is belief, and that is the whatever it takes that Chris just mentioned. Having an all-in mindset sends a message to your brain, and then your brain sets about finding ways to solve problems as they crop up. Being all in on this, I think we all know, I'm preaching to the choir here because we've got a group of rock stars with us, Chris. We all know that when we do something halfway, it doesn't usually come out. We don't usually get the results that we've wanted. I've done it in my business. Chris, I'm sure you've done it in your business. So there's only two things required in speaking to have success. Number one is an all-in belief, a whatever it takes attitude. And number two is consistent action. And that's kind of what we teach inside the Wealthy Speaker School. And we'll tell you guys more about that if it comes up. Okay. There's a piece, though, with relationship to the all in, whatever it takes mindset that I really want to share with you, because there's a little bit about this that is so, so essential. Now, some of you have seen this type of model before. This happens to be a Brooke Castillo model, and I got certified in her thought model process right at the beginning of COVID. I spent 18,000 US dollars. I'm in Canada, people, gulp. That was a big deal for me to do at the beginning of COVID. And I want to tell the story at some point here about how Chris carried me out of my doom and gloom at the beginning of COVID. But let's just talk about what the model is all about. Let me grab a edit tool here. Okay. Let's see. So the C line is a circumstance. And if we used COVID as an example, we would say that the circumstance is neutral. We would write COVID in under the circumstance. And the reason why we say it's neutral is because everybody's going to think about it differently. I had one thought, Chris had another thought, Mark had another thought, and on and on. We all had different ideas of what COVID meant to us. And I will tell you, quite honestly, my first thought was, oh my goodness, our industry is wiped out. I freaked out. I went into nasty, nasty fear spiral, and my friend Chris brought me out of it. Okay, so the next line in this thought model is the T line. That is actually the thought that you had based on the circumstance. Okay, the thought that you have based on the circumstance. Like I said, my thought was, oh my goodness, our industry is wiped out. I was just absolutely, I told my husband, we had a very bad week in our marriage. I told my husband we were going to have to sell our house. I was just really freaking out. The thought is then going to lead to the F line, and the F line is all about the feeling that comes from the thought. In the case of what we're talking about with regards to back in the early March 2020, my feeling was like desperate, doom and gloom. It was really, really bad. And then if we continue on with the model, and this is the part where I think is the most industry relatable piece here. The A is the action line. And what we teach inside the Wealthy Speaker School is that you cannot take your actions from any feeling of less than, or you are not going to get the results that you want. Okay, so then the R is the result line. This is the most important piece of what I'm here to tell you today. You must be taking your actions from a feeling of empowered confidence, calm, whatever it might be. Now, there might be urgency behind it, especially if you have a big, hairy, bodacious goal. But it's really, really important where you're taking your actions from. So what we want to do, and I'm giving you the basic outline here. What we want to do is watch out for our unintentional thoughts and be cognizant of moving them towards intentional. And if we have time at the end, I'd love to share with you what my before and after was on the thought, because Chris, when my thought changed during COVID, it was like a light switch flipping. And Brooke Castillo, whose group I was in at the time, had us set what we called an impossible goal. And that was a big deal for me. And you kind of entered the picture at that moment in time. Chris, tell me how mindset has affected your work.
Well, truly, truly, for all of us listening in the speaker industry, we have an extra responsibility on our shoulders as thought leaders, which is that if you are going to be a thought leader in the world, you have to be the one who is masterful in your internal strength and alignment. And what I mean by that is that I see so many professional speakers saying things loud enough to the world that they are desperately trying to figure out and learn themselves.
Mm,
Right.
interesting.
And we all know that's the case. And it's amazing to me how often I hear someone say, my life fell apart, at which point I decided to become a coach.
A life coach.
Life coach. No, but so we have to be masterful in our internal guidance. And there's never an external circumstance ever that is greater than your internal ability to handle it. There's never anything external. And it is amazing to me how many, because we have to stay aware of things to be able to be relevant for clients, of us watch the news or do things like that, feel the feelings of the fear or the worry or the doubt, and are going out and actually speaking from those without completely transforming them as an alchemist in our body to a place of being at such an elevated peak performance that we never speak or do or act, send an email without being in a good spot. And this is a practice that every one of us have to adopt is there's never an external circumstance that's greater than my internal ability to handle it. And every single one of the thoughts that I have is guiding that. And so, Jane, the one way that I do it, which is a quick hack, which I think if we all are doing will be incredibly helpful, no matter what happens to me, I could have the worst thing happen to me in the world. And my first thought, I'm telling you guys with consistency, because I've trained my brain to do it, I always think, I wonder how this is working out for me.
Ooh. So
I wonder how this is working out for me. Yeah.
is the feeling that comes from that curiosity?
Yeah, exactly. I just start getting curious. Now, listen, I always give myself feelings that I check in an hour every hour right now. I've done it for months on how I'm doing. I just clink, how am I feeling? Click, how am I feeling? How am I feeling? Because our feelings guide us. But we have to be masterful. And as things continue to go on in the world in the next 5 years, we all know this. You speak on it. Many of you are experts in it. The rate of change is going to be so exponential on a daily basis that people are going to be able to, it's going to be difficult for most people to continue to handle up. It is our mindset above anything else and our personal alignment that is going to be the difference for every single one of us. And it is about a practice, every morning where there's a time that you prepare your mind, your heart, all of it for the most peak performance that you can, whichever level you can get to that day. And we don't do anything until that's complete. It's so vital.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And we are exactly moving into the right place here. So let us start, Chris. You are going to share your screen now, and we're going to talk through your brand story. So let's give everybody a little lay of the land before we do that.
Yep.
Chris is going to share 3 chunks with you. And then at the end, you're going to break out into breakout rooms. Like I told you, my goal was 60 people. Right now, we're sitting 63. If we get to 70, we'll have 7 rooms. So 7 rooms of 10. And when we go into the breakout room, who's ever Brady Bunch in the top left corner gets assigned the taskmaster duties, and you will be in charge of the room and making sure that everybody gets some time. Okay. You're going to have 15 minutes in each of the breakout rooms. So that means everyone should get at least a minute to share, and we'll give you a very specific question. Okay. So that is how our day is structured. For those of you who, oh my gosh, I have an appointment or I have to leave a little bit, just know we will have a replay, and we are going to endeavor to get that replay out to you later today or tomorrow. So just know we'll get it out to you in a timely fashion. Chris, do you want to share the workbook again for those who are coming in a little bit late? Chris has done this beautiful
I think
work.
the other thing too, just so you know, for everybody here is just slide up, and if you don't see it, but I'll share it again right now. I want to actually address the conversation, or the quick question that Lewis asked everybody, where he said, my reality suggests that I should be scared to death with everything going on in the world right now, right? Yet perhaps I'm delusionally confident. How do you reconcile our vision with possible scary current situation? So earlier, a couple months ago, Jane sent me a message. She was like, it feels a little dark, like when we were in the middle of pandemic for a minute. Remember when we did the brand camp? Why don't we do that again? And I said to Jane, I want to do the brand camp because it'd be fun, but I will not do a single thing out of fear. And one of the things that I want you guys to hear, and I know that we all need to say this, but with tariffs, with all kinds of things going on, with how much is going on in Europe, but everything going on in different places, US and China are technically right now in a race to see who can get to super consciousness first with AI. And whoever gets there first will control the rest of whatever. There's a million things going on. And yet, truly,
a million things to be worried about.
Yes. It has never, ever, ever been easier for any single person to take out a laptop and start $1 million business overnight. There are more $1 million businesses being grown per day than there's in the history of the world. The way that we live right now, the way that we have food and water and shelter and all kinds of things like kings and queens a couple hundred years ago would have killed to have. There is so much abundance going on, and there is an actual elevation going on with almost everybody in the planet, where people are elevating so fast in their consciousness and their ability to see things that all kinds of spontaneous things are happening. I promise you, every hard thing is directly creating an equal and opposite rocket of desire for the best things possible, and everything is going to continue to unfold better and better and better. This is not pie in the sky thinking. And whenever I happen to be, because I don't watch the news at all, and you might think, what? Not a single bit? No. When was the last time I saw the news? The last time I actually saw television and watched it for some type of news was the inauguration of, I think, a guy named Joe Biden. I don't know if I think that's his name. And it was the last time I glanced at something. Other than that, every time something big happens, someone's going to tell me about it that morning. And the reason is that I am so obsessed with personal development, personal growth, joy, and happiness that I can watch my body 5 minutes after listening to something on the news, and it's like, whoa, right? You can actually feel your frequency literally go down. And again, this is not political. There's nothing we're going to say in here, but I want you to hear, because someone just said this, is we're having this moment in time where there's so many things going on. Oh, gotcha, Lewis. Thank you so much. To clarify, it's your own personal situation. Thank you. But I wanted to address it on the global level as well, is that there's such a reason to be so positive and hopeful. And we are the lights in the world. And most of the speakers in the world, most people who want the microphone, most of you are light workers. If you don't know what that term means, it's people whose souls are in a human body who are actually here to elevate the planet. So assume that's you, and assume that it's your ability to bring everyone up in every situation. And let's go from there, right? But then thank you, Lewis, for clarifying. And I will say that obviously for all of us, the moments that we go through the hardest times in our lives, obviously, often it becomes the catalyst for our greatest growth, right? And I'm sure you guys all agree. In many of your guys' stories, you know, Warren is on this call. Warren had the most difficult experience you could possibly have, to be trapped underneath a rock in the middle of an island where there was no remote option, and almost consider, be close to death, right? And yet it's become a story that's gone all over the world. And so our greatest challenges become our greatest gifts. And of course, during the moments, we just have to feel them and be in them.
Okay. I am so glad that you addressed, what's going on in the world. Sometimes I have gone to seminars just to see what somebody would say. I need some brightness. I need my light to re-up. And so that was perfect, Chris. Why don't we dive into your brand story? That's what
So
we're
guys,
here.
yep. So just giving an idea of everybody for as what we're going to be doing is that what we're going to do in the speaker brand camp, we wanted to just have like a kind of feeling of just a camp for,
Welcome, campers. Mhm.
right?
Love
Is
it.
that what we're going to do is we're going to really look at your brand and to just remind ourselves, if you've been around me, if you've heard any of this, what I want, you'll hear some of it again, but it's so crucial. We can never hear it enough. Our brains process things in stories. And so you have to speak in story in everything you're doing. Second, how can you refine your website? Are there little parts of it that you can are being missed? What's your header look like? What's the sections with it? So we're going to go through your website and then we're going to talk about some of your video assets. And one of the things I'm going to do in the video assets is I'm going to talk to you a lot about 3 really powerful AI tools that you can use to create videos for you, or things like that, or use for your video, because those will be really effective. So we'll talk about your brand story, your website, and your video. And between each one, we'll have a 15-minute breakout for you to analyze and talk about and to connect with people. Cool? So that each of you are sharpening who you are today. All right? So let's dive in. So, of course, we know the power of story. And if any of you guys know the power of story, right, all of us will come back to one individual. And that one individual is Joseph Campbell. Right? And Joseph Campbell, who is the greatest anthropologist who's ever lived, studied hundreds of cultures, and he spent over 50 years of his career looking at and being with and working with Aboriginal tribes, people in Australia, people in Africa, people in the US, people in Canada, all over the world, and examining the stories that they told throughout their culture. And what was so fascinating to Joseph Campbell was that at one point he realized, oh my goodness, every culture tells the same story through their recorded history. They just have different names and ideas, but essentially the story structure is the same in every culture. And for whatever reason, since we're meaning making people, we make meaning of our lives and our experiences out of story. And he wrote the book, The Hero with a Thousand Faces. And this is not a book that I would recommend that you go pick up and read for the fun of it. It's a very deep, heady, difficult book to kind of wrap your mind around, but essentially it is where we began to understand the idea of the hero's journey and to understand that in our lives, each of us have great things we want to learn. And when we need to learn them, guides will come along to help us and we will face our deepest challenges. And it was difficult to understand, but luckily a guy named Christopher Vogler came along and studied Joseph Campbell for 16 years. And he began to understand that there's these 16 points in any good story. I'm not going to go into detail on this, but I want to just share with you all that whenever you are experiencing something new, that's the call to adventure. Someone has an opportunity, or you decide to start the speaking business, or you want to do something new in the speaking business, or you're thinking about going to an event or a conference or something, it's a call to adventure. And almost always what happens next is, out of fear, one part of us will say, I don't think I should. That's part of it. That's the refusal of the call. But usually as you're trying to get something, you'll meet a mentor, you'll meet a guide, you'll meet someone who's exactly the next perfect person to help you with the process. And when you do, you cross the threshold and you move from your ordinary world, the world you know, into this new, what we call the special world. And you see this all the time in movies. This is the process they go through for all of it. And of course, even going back to Lewis, good chance that possibly you're right in the middle of approaching that innermost cave or the ordeal where you have to face the challenges that you haven't been facing yet. And we then learn that challenge, and you can see we go to a higher plane, and then this goes again and it goes again. And our lives are centrifugal circles moving up if we're living in the way that is the right way, which is you'll never, ever arrive until you die. You'll always be ready to learn to the next thing, right? Now, why is this so important to understand? Every single person you speak to is not a company, is not a nameless, faceless something. They're an individual, a decision maker on this journey. And you have to be able to walk them through where they are and where they are going. But the question is, how do you take this 16-point thing in this, 1,000-page textbook about the hero with 1,000 faces and turn it into something that you can use? Of course, many of you guys know this, and I was studying narrative therapy in 2012 in my graduate degree work, and lived here in Portland, Oregon, and this guy named Joseph Campbell, or sorry, Donald Miller started writing about this story stuff. And so in 2012, when he wrote his first PDF, taking what I was studying with Joseph Campbell and turn it into stuff we could use in the business world, I was like, oh my gosh, Don, this is perfect. So if you guys aren't aware, Donald Miller, who started StoryBrand, really said, well, of those 16 points, you could really boil it down to this. There's a character in every story, and that character wants something. And the second the character wants something, they have a problem. How do you get it? So I'd love to grow a high, very successful speaking business, 500 to 600 to $1 million speaking business. How do I do it? Now we have the problem. What does the brain do, or what's a great story do? Right? In that moment, you find someone or you meet someone who knows how to help you do that. You meet the guide, and that guide will say, okay, if you want to build a 500K or 600K speaking business, here's the things to do, which is them giving you a plan. That plan then calls you into action. And then the question is, are you either going to do it and get that business or that world that you want, or are you not, and you're going to have a tragedy? Now, that's an easy way to think about it from a business standpoint, but not quite the same process for a speaker business. And so seeing this in 2012, I was like, oh my gosh, it's so good, but that's not quite for the speaker. And a few professional speakers had just been reaching out to me, and I immediately translated this and then have built on it for years and years to, different elements on this. But essentially, if you were to give an equation of this, the speaker story model is this. You have your audience, right? They are your audience. And again, there's two ways to grow a highly successful speaking business. One, be known for one thing. Or two, be known to one group of people. Now, the real sweet spot are the people who are known to one audience and known for one thing. But many of you will probably be just be in the first category, known for one thing. This is why I'm obsessed with helping people find their category of one, their distinction. And Jane does this work a lot with people too. There has to be this truth about who you are, that what you stand for. It's so vital that you have what you're known for. And then it's been true of you pretty much throughout your career, right? But your audience can be very broad, but it can still be very specific in the sense that it's leaders who are blank, 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 and blank. And that could be in any industry. It doesn't have to be one specific industry. So what are the characteristics of your audience? And then what is the challenges that they are facing? What are the top three? If not, I'd like for you always to get to the top one biggest challenge that they're facing. And of course, then we want to tell your story, right? That's where you come in and you talk about your background and how you're uniquely set for that. The interesting thing with the challenge that I'll just go into in a little bit more detail in a minute is you want to be so specific that you're known for one challenge more than any other. And most people are not brave enough to do it, but it's vital that you decide on being known for one thing. And often you can combine two or three things that are all their challenges and say, what's the like centerpiece of all of that, and name it. Right. So we'll talk more about that, but what's your challenge? There's you, and your change model then comes in. It's a methodology, a way to make it happen. Jane, you call it the formula, right? Your formula.
Yeah. And we typically have 3 parts to the formula, but I know you have some clients who have very successfully had a little bit bigger change model, and that's okay too.
Yeah. Above all, you want to put everything that you do into at least movements that a company can understand that they're going to go through. Like Amir Ganad, who's on this thing, his company often has this thing they go through for a year. But when we worked together, it was just like, what are the stages of it? So you can take a year's worth of stuff and at least say there's only 3 stages of work, and each stage can have multiple processes in it, but the brain has got to understand things from a very large macro standpoint. That calls them into action when they know what steps to take, and that will result in either them having the success they want or the failure that if they don't do it. So this is the way to think about your brand. And the way that I often do it is to help people sort of think about it in this way. You've got to have the perspective transformation All humans have a desire to transform. And a speaker who guides his or her audience through a transformational journey is what we all want to find. It's what we're always looking for. And your brand has to show transformation. How will I be different when I interact with you? So few speakers actually think about how they are creating transformation in the way they communicate with their brand, in the way that they do their website, in the way that they do the video. Say, by the time that we are done, here's how you will be fundamentally different in the most positive way. And people have to be ultra clear about that. So many speakers that I know, when they sit down to write a keynote, they sit down to write a keynote. They don't sit down to say, how do I transform people? Writing a keynote that is about transformation is very different than writing a keynote to convey a really strong idea. And so you always have to be thinking about that journey that you take people on. And truthfully, when I help people write keynotes, we actually just identify their audience, the challenge, their story, the way that they can be different. And we actually create a transformational 60 minutes, not just a presentation. Right. And that's the key, is that your website, your video, your keynote, your consulting, your coaching, all of it has to be ultra, ultra clear about a transformational journey, because on a deep, unconscious level, this is what we all want. We all want to transform and be more. Jane?
I've often told the story about Mel Robbins. I went to see a Mel Robbins presentation, and it was a great presentation. But when I walked away, I couldn't really remember what she talked about. It wasn't anything that kind of glommed in my head. But then she went on to write a book called The 5-Second Rule. And it was all about, when you are hesitating to do something, just count backwards in your head, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and do it. It was all about taking action. It was one simple idea. And when she got that one simple sticky idea, everything changed in her life and in her business. Her keynotes got better. Her everything about her book became a bestseller. And it all because it was just so simple and sticky. So when somebody said, why is it so hard? Why is this piece so hard? And I actually would encourage you to question. When Chris says the word transformational, I think that makes you think that it has to be like rocket science. But Chris, does it have to be rocket science?
I mean, truly, just
hard.
Just so you guys are clear, I'm always seeking to get each of you, in the way we do our brand, to be known for one idea. And so few people have the bravery or the courage to do it. Once you do, though, and here's the second part, and this is so crucial, so I need you to hear this. It's not just one idea you want to be known for. There's these two lines, they're coming up and they're intersecting. On one side is your idea, your unique background, what you want to tell people. On the next side is your ideal audience and the language they're using. They have to line up. They have to line up. Too many people have an idea that will change the world, but they're communicating it wrong, and so it doesn't land. Right? And so it could be an idea that could change the world. Unfortunately, there's been a million of them, like you think about something like Microsoft, which is doing just fine, it's not a thing, but like when Apple came on the scene, they became so distinct in those ideas that they're known for that they just quickly, you have to communicate in a way that people really, really hear. So there's the 2 points. What is your ideal client, and what are the words that they're saying, and what's your one idea? And we have to put those two together to make that happen. That's what I call building a distinction, a category of one. That's a key part of all of this. Cool. Now listen, we're not going to have enough time on this call to go through that one idea, but it is a really unique way to be doing it. I want you all to be thinking about what is that category of one for me. Many of you already have it, right? But at least for today, what I want us to do is at least look at your brand script. So let's look at that. So when I help someone write their brand story, I think it's easiest to do in a brand script. And really that brand script looks like this. It looks like, as I work with, right? As I work with, so this is describing your ideal clients. And then you say, what I consistently see. At which point you describe their greatest challenge that you're aware of. And then you say what most people don't know. This is where we learn that you're the expertise and you have a distinction, right? Because you're going to give us an answer to that problem that we're dealing with. And then you say once they, and list some of the steps that it takes for them to make the difference. And then you say the results are astounding and you describe what we're experiencing. This is the simplest way that I can get any person to write their website the right way. So if I were to say this, I would say once, as I work with professional speakers, what I consistently hear is they say, I'm really good online, I'm really good in person, but online, my video and website, they don't reflect how good I am. Right? But what most people don't realize is there's actually 3 things that they have to get right. They have to get really clear about their brand story. They have to get really clear about their their distinction, their category of one. And they have to get very clear about a process that people can take that will create transformation in their lives. And once you do that, once you get really clear about your brand story, your category of one, and your transformational model, what I call your change model, and turn that into your video and turn that into your website, you will see such phenomenal results. I've literally watched people say, we did nothing but change the video. That's it, just the video. And I literally made $1 million this last year that was different from the other year. And I didn't change anything except for the video. But it was the way the video told the story that suddenly made that difference. And it has to be that clarity that you have up front. So you just heard me tell a story without realizing it. And just to give an example that many people in the industry know, but in 2018 or 2019, when I met her, Cassandra was like, hey, Chris, here's the deal. I need to get executives to start focusing on the emotions that go along with change. And that's that they never realize that it's the emotions that they're not dealing with, which is why so many change initiatives fail. And so with the script, it says I work with companies going through massive change, acquisitions, and mergers. Boom. Now you know really clearly who she's best at working with, right? Something really to point out here now too is that if you're ultra specific up front with your brand, like Jane just mentioned with Mel Robbins with the 5-second rule, once you break through and you're a name brand, you can do anything you want. Now Mel can say anything and it'll go big, right? But at first it was just the 5-second rule. When Cassandra was starting, it was just companies going through massive change, acquisitions, and mergers. Now she works with people all over the world, and not all of them are going through, acquisitions and mergers, right? But at first it was like, let's get really clear about the kinds of people that'll be perfect, that'll fill up the calendar of bookings, fill up the calendar and the business model. So it says I work with these companies. What I consistently see, they are great at strategy and communication, but they don't have tools for dealing with the emotions of change. And what most people don't know is that their company culture is determined by their employees' beliefs and emotions. That's actually what makes up the culture. And once they give their people a tool for recognizing, responding, and harnessing the emotions they get, a limitless resource. They have higher engagement, do. And once we had that clarity of that model, right, we were able to immediately turn it into an effective website. So if you were to think about like Cassandra's website, which has been so effective over the years, one of the things that you would notice that this exact script became her story. And so I'm getting rid of the chat for a minute. When we started talking with them, it was, have you noticed culture usually stands in the way of change adoption? And what makes up your culture? It's your people. What determines how your people are experiencing their work every day? Their beliefs, their emotions. So how do you harness emotions and create buy-in for change? You give them this, and that's where Cassandra comes in. Then we tell her story. Then she does what? She tells us how things will be different. And then she says, how can we do that? What will drive the best results? Now you're choosing. Is it this? Is it this? Is it this? And then when you get the outcome, it'll be this and this and this and this. Now look, you don't have to book me right away. There's a way to just start learning right now. Just get the book. Or we can have a conversation. You don't realize it, but you're hearing a complete story, and it comes from that brand script. And so what I would like for all of you to be thinking about now is, have you updated this recently? And what's this look like for you? And so what we'll do is we're going to go into breakout groups. And if you don't have the workbook, definitely download it from the chat. It's been shared 3 times. So go up and just download it and use that and see if you can share your brand script with the people in your breakout room. Not everyone, I don't think, will all have chance to go, depending on how many breakout rooms we have. Let's make them small, Jane, to make it possible.
How many people do you want to have in each?
I mean, I think we could probably, based on the numbers, do like 12 breakout rooms of 5.
Okay. That's what we're going to do.
Cool. So we're going to have 15 minutes. This is also time to use the restroom, do anything you need. Share your brand script. Go around the room and say, as I work with, and then share what I consistently see, what most people don't know once and the results are astounding. And we'll come back together after that to make it happen. And we'll leave time for Q&A. So if you have questions, keep them, and we'll talk about them.
Chris, maybe when we send everyone out into the breakout rooms, we can send a message to the room with those 5 questions, just to keep them on track.
Well, they all have a workbook. So this is the very first page.
Okay. That's true. Okay. So we're going to do 7 breakout rooms. If you are the leader of the breakout room, which means you're in the top left corner, and you don't or can't do it, assign it to the next person, and then everybody will know what's going on. And also build in a little time at the end so that you get to go to the washroom and grab a drink. Okay. So here we go. We are going into breakout rooms. If Chris and I have an opportunity, we'll pop in on you just as flies on the wall, but please carry on as if we will not be there. And here we go. Well, welcome back as we load up the room here. I didn't realize Chris was going to be leaving me also. I had him as the co-host, so I really thought he wouldn't go anywhere. So those of you who are lucky enough to get Chris in your room, congratulations on that. Let me see if I can find him again. Chris, are you with me? Hang on a second. Everybody's filtering back in. Let's see. So, how was it, everybody? What did you think? Go ahead and unmute yourself and let me know. Give me one word that would give me a little flavor for what happened. Leslie.
It was exhilarating.
Exhilarating. Oh, I love that. Chris, you're back.
That was fun. I was in a room. That was great.
I didn't know you were going to go away as a co-host. I wouldn't have thought that would have happened. So I'll have to be a little bit more cognizant when I send you off into the ether next time. I'm like, bring them back. Anyway, so I'm learning. Let's go ahead and pin you.
Cool.
Here we go.
We feeling ready to keep going, everybody?
Did everybody get a chance to go and grab a drink and go to the bathroom? Okay.
Yeah. Well, let me just share the feedback I gave in our room. I want you all to hear this because it's so crucial.
Okay.
When someone is choosing you as a professional speaker, they are not choosing just you. They are choosing you compared to all of the other people that they speak to, right? Yes, the video and the website are going to be the first crucial things, but usually you get on the short list and now it's 2 or 3 other people and you, right? So the question then becomes, how do you distinguish yourself, right? And what I asked our group and what I will say to all of you is, if I took your name out and I put another speaker in, did the words change at all? Meaning, are you saying things like engagement, retention, and burnout? I'm not suggesting that you're not saying these because these are super important, but we have to be able to be distinct. And there's 2 areas to be ultra distinct. And this is where they start choosing you over someone else. The first area to be ultra distinct is in the way that you describe the process that you're going to take their leaders through. It has to be a transformational journey. So many people are talking in general terms, right? Just general terms. If I were on and you're interviewing me as one of the two or three speakers we chose, I would be saying something like this. I'd be saying, so if were you able to check out the video? And they're like, yes, and our stuff, I'm not gonna be long winded about this, but you have to be able to create a transformational journey. The first thing is, what do they want? So I am always asking, as if I were in a professional speaker standpoint, I share about the event, blah, blah, blah. But I want to go a little past the event because I tend to customize, and I'm going to wink there. I only want you to customize certain parts of your keynote and be masterful and give the same one very, very well over and over and over with customizations in it, because that's how you become truly masterful in your stories, is you've given that thing 50, 60, 100 times. You'd be amazed at 58 times in how you change one word and the whole room ripples. You would never that kind of insight if you weren't giving your same talk a lot and you were getting better and better and better. Too many people I work with, they're customizing all the time. Customizing. No, be masterful in one signature keynote and then tweak parts of it where I always customize in that part. I always customize in this part and I always customize in that part. Then it is customized. But my signature stories, my openings, I'm testing them. I'm looking at the video. I'm watching myself back. I'm watching people. I'm getting better and better and better. So I would be saying in a sales conversation, I love hearing about your event, but one of the things that I really want to get clear on is, what is the highest priority for the association this year? Or what's the highest priority for your organization this year? You want to get them ultra clear on what their highest priority is. Most people don't know. And the second question is, that's beautiful to hear. Second question, I just got to know, give me a real sense of what people are going through right now. I'd really like to know, what are your leaders dealing with? What's the turnover like? You're going, where do you want? Where are you now? Why you're saying that is you're getting them ultra clear themselves about where do we want to be and where are we now? And then the key part that distinguishes you among other people is you say, so the keynote does something really unique. It actually is designed to transform your leaders. I don't want to come in and give a 60-minute keynote and they walk away entertained and engaged. I want to give a transformational experience. And here's why. What you just described to me, blank, blank, and blank, you say the words back to them. The reason that the leaders are so different by the time that they leave is I'm going to teach them 3 very specific areas that they need to focus on. The first thing that I'm going to get them focused on is blank. And now you're saying something that's so specific. The second thing, once they get that sense of it, is this. And then the third is this. And when they get those 3 things right, we're not just talking in general things like turnover goes down. No, we know that in your industry, it costs about $60,000 to replace one person. I'm going to make sure that the leaders are showing up in such a way with the conversations they have and the way that they do this and the da-da-da-da, that turnover is going so far down that we're going to be tracking things in hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions, by the end of this year. That's the idea behind my keynote. Now they're going, okay, we're going to go with this person. And one of the things I would recommend all of you do with ChatGPT is always, before a conversation with any person, when they're considering you for a speaking engagement, research in this industry, how much does it cost this company or this kind of industry to replace one person? Right? Come in with that data. With ChatGPT, you'll always be able to know what it costs them, and you'll be able to give real numbers, right? And your keynote has to be an experience so that people will transform. And the model that you share has to be unique in a way where they're not hearing it from other people, even if it's the same thing. I want you to say of that, like we were in a room and one of them on the Sean talking about generations was like, first thing leaders have to do is get really curious. Yeah, but a lot of our speakers could be curious. What kind of curiosity? Like if you were to say something like, the first thing I teach leaders to do when they're working with 5 generations, I've got a lot of Gen Z people and they're just like, I don't really want that shift, right? First thing they're gonna do is just get frustrated. Why don't these young people want to work, right? That's why the first thing I help them do is get blank curious. Like, what's the adjective before the kind of curiosity? Because now nobody else is saying that. I can't, Sean is going to only be the one who talks about blank curiosity. Right. So not many of us are wordsmiths. That's the beauty of AI these days. You upload a lot of your content. You say, okay, I want to get really specific about my steps and I want to say it in a way that no one else is saying it, but I want it to be true of me. So the first thing I do is blank. What's a unique way to name that? Right. And now it's a type of curiosity that's a very intentional curiosity. Like, I don't think that would be the word, but it's like, I teach them, the something curiosity, which is these 3 questions that unlock why that person isn't showing up for work. And now they're going, okay, no one else is doing that. We haven't heard this from anyone else. Right.
So good. So good. Yeah. And using words that are dollar words instead of nickel words. That's a Patricia Fripp reference. Really, when you're developing your formula, can be incredibly helpful. Chris, I'd like to hear from some of the breakout room, not necessarily the leader of the room. Go ahead and raise your hand if you'd like to share even just one idea or one word of how you felt coming out of the breakout room. And I do want to apologize because we might have said 20 minutes and we might have said 15 minutes. And I think that might have been a little bit confusing. So that was on me. 15 minutes was the intention. And I might have said 20 at one point in time. So apologies if if people got a little bit curious. Go ahead and raise your hand so I can see you if you would like to share. Dean Henke, who always has just a beautiful running commentary for us. Dean, what is a word or an idea that you'd like to share from your room?
Yeah, we actually did a work party. We didn't talk at all. We just worked. And I think we got closer than we would have had we actually talked about it. So grateful to you and Chris for
okay,
doing
so
this.
You all went on mute and put your heads down and worked on the 5 questions. Love that. And I would encourage you to all do that. We do that on some of our mastermind calls, on our selling speeches call once a month. We actually go on mute and we put our heads down and we get to work calling people. And I think that is an amazing idea. Great idea, Dean. And thank you for sharing that. And I'm sure other people might use that in the breakout rooms in the future. Who else? Go ahead and raise your hand using the little raise hand button that's right next to the share. Okay. Well, if we don't have another share, let's go ahead and Chris, are we ready to move on to, you're really getting people thinking about the messaging that they're showing up. What were the 5 questions? If you will go back to let me just share this one more time. I'm going to share the workbook again here.
Yeah. And then we'll dive in to the session 2, you guys, where I wanted to start thinking about how you tweak your website. And then again, session 3 will be some AI tools you could be using really effectively and thinking about your videos. But just want to share one other thing that makes the greatest difference. So one of the things that I encourage all of my clients to do and has created the greatest revenue difference for anybody who has taken me up on it is that Jeff Savilico, as a speaker, has this funny phrase. He says, there's 2 kinds of speakers. There's ones who know that virtual sucks. And there's the other kinds who are lying. Right? When we all started doing more virtual Zoom stuff during the pandemic, I watched in droves everybody kind of move away from that after, right? But one of the things that I want you to keep in mind is that a 60-minute keynote, it can't really transform someone. We all want to believe it can. We all want to believe that my story, my message, my stuff, it does. But I don't know about you. I see over 100 keynotes a year, and sometimes I hear something, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's incredible. And I run back to the hotel room and I'm like writing it down. 3 months later, 6 months later, am I that different? Probably not. Right. But a good example of this is that I was on a run with with a brother-in-law, and he was a lawyer, and someone come in and speak to all this law firm about mindset and not burning out, because she'd been a lawyer who totally burned out. And he said that the law firm paid for her to do 6 weeks of virtual trainings after. And he's like, I'm totally doing the things she teaches. And of course, this is my world. So I'm like, hey, question. If she had not done the 6 weeks of virtual trainings after, do you think he would have had that level of transformation? Do you think you'd be applying this stuff? And he was like, actually, I don't think so. Right? So here's what I will tell you. Keynotes do 3 things. And they're vital because we need these 3 things. These are the 3 things keynotes do. 1, new inspiration. They inspire us to do something different. 2, they create a shared language. Everybody in the organization just heard you talk about this. They can all go back and have a different conversation. Inspiration, shared language, and awareness. Awareness that they didn't have before. Now, not all of you are going to take me up on this, but I promise you, if you develop your change model, the stages of work that you go through, and you develop 3 virtual trainings where you just do the same thing you do, but in a 60-minute, 3 of them, and you tell people once they've started considering you as the speaker, you just say these simple words. Where most organizations have the greatest success with me is we build a plan to implement this into your culture after the keynote. Where organizations have the greatest success with me is that they build a plan to implement this into your culture after the keynote. Do you want to know how I do that? Or are you open to hearing, would you like to know a little bit about how I do that? Question mark. They might say no, they might say yes, right? But if you can just say where organizations have the most success is that they make a plan to implement this into their culture following the keynote. Would you like to know a little bit of how I can do that? If they say yes, you share with them that when leaders show up in this way, there's 3 areas that we want to get them to be focused on. This is going to make the greatest difference. The keynote's going to create a shared language. It's going to create an awareness. It's going to create inspiration. Everyone's going to be so excited to go and do something. What I love to do is I love to work with your leaders in 3 sessions after. And this is now implementation, where I'm going to deep dive that first skill set. And what we're going to do is we're going to have them all go and practice at least with 3 of their direct reports. And between session 1 and session 2, the 2-week period, everybody has to practice with 3 times. Then we're going to come back and they're going to see how they're going, right? I want to get your leaders improving significantly. And you talk about the 3 stages and they're like, okay, but how much is it going to cost us? If your keynote's 15, it's 25 or 30, right? Like it's $5,000 per virtual training. And you're like, well, that's way too little, Chris. It's pretty sweet when your calendar becomes, I've got 2 keynotes or 3 keynotes in person. And then I've got these 3 or 4 companies who are going through this with me. I'm waking up, I'm given the same virtual training I've given so many times for $5,000. And I've got numerous companies doing that with me. And so now my annual revenue, my monthly revenue is kind of around like that 30 to 40 to 50K, because I've got 2 engagements at 10 or 15 or 25 or whatever. And then I've got these different companies, because every time I speak, 1 out of 4 of them sign up for this, doing the 5K trainings. And now I've got this like really consistent rhythm in my calendar. During things that are hard, they're going to come back to you and want to do more with you. I just want to kind of keep that in mind for all of you, is that when you have a plan to implement it after the keynote, you actually can create transformation. You really can. And truly, and we all know this, everybody on this call knows this. If an individual leader learns the skill sets to care about their people, people don't quit. They don't quit. They don't. They just like, I want to work for this person. They care about me. They know about me. And so when you guys can teach leaders to be better, people tend to not quit. And so it's not an overpromise to say that we can really drop the turnover and we can save you guys an annual amount of blank. And some people are like we said in the chat, Stacy was like, I don't know if I can promise that, right? Yes, you can. If you can have one leader start showing up differently, there's going to be less quitting. You can track that in real numbers. And anybody these days is not looking for a motivational speaker. They're not even looking for just a speaker. They're looking for someone to help them solve a business problem. And so you got to make the business case in everything that you do. Even if you're the most inspirational speaker in the world, why is this going to help our business?
So good, Chris. Oh my gosh. You're dropping the knowledge bombs here, and people are commenting in the chat. So thank you so much for your content, for your really deep content. We expected the group today not necessarily to be at the starting level. So if you are at the starting level and this is kind of rocking your world, perhaps a little bit beyond, just know that you're going to take a lot of really good notes. You're going to get your foundations and your fundamentals down, and then you're going to come back to these. But if you can start with this in mind, I think you're off to an amazing advantage. And these are really masters. This is really a master's class. So thank you, Chris, for offering this to our participants today. We're coming up on about the halfway mark. Just checking in. Is there a need? Do we need to take a 5-minute break? Do we need to keep going, power through? Chris is saying no. Tell us in the chat what your thoughts are. I don't know how many people in the breakout rooms.
I think that's the thing is during the breakout rooms is the time to take a quick break because that's the time because we got too many great things to give. We got to keep rolling.
Keep going. Solid content. Keep going. Okay, bless you both for doing this. At the start, and this is opening my mind wide open to prepare mentally for what's going to unfold. Tremendously powerful, wonderful. Okay, it sounds like we're going to keep going. If we're just Louis, thank you. Let's go ahead and move forward into website, and we're going to do about 15 minutes of content, and then you're going to get a 15-minute breakout session. That would be the moment for you to take a quick break. So if you hang on for just 15 minutes, we have got your break coming. Okay. Cher, thank you for your comments. Okay, Chris. So moving this idea, and let's just say that Cassandra's website is probably a pretty advanced.
Well, and Jane, I'm about to do the most 3-day kind of website example.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Cool. So, each thing that we do, everyone is a layer and a layer and a layer. So the first layer that I want you to just keep in mind always, and it's a reminder, meaning you have to go back to it and back to it and back to it, is every human on the planet, there's universal laws. The universe has actual laws. One of the laws of the universe that you cannot break, it's just a part of it, is the law of growth. Every plant, every species, every cell, every person desires growth. There's never going to be a point where you're like, I'm done growing. If you do have that point, you are dead. That's when your body does, your soul says, okay, I'm done here. Right? You have to be in the growth industry. And you have to come back to this over and over. People want to transform. People want to transform. It's not a keynote. It's not a video. It's not a website. It's a transformational process. How do I be super specific about how people will transform? And so that's the thing to take from everything that you do, is that when you're having conversations with individuals, the buyers in organizations, and they're considering you, or the event planner who's putting you on the short list, this is how the audience will transform. Okay. And so what we want to do next is we want to show you how to make it so that your website can tell that same story. So your website story and how your website shows transformation is super important. So this is a great example of someone I recently worked with. Great guy out of Canada. He's a magician. He's been a yoga practitioner. He's been an interdisciplinary. He's done so many brilliant and incredible things throughout his career. And he said to me, Chris, I need to distill a career in numerous disciplines in a speaking brand that my ideal clients would resonate with. And I've just done so many things. I don't know how to do that. So I said, is it okay, Brandon, once he finished his work, could I share your before and after? He was like, sure, go ahead. So with his permission, I'm sharing this with you, is that at the beginning, he had a website just put up on Squarespace or whatever. And the questions I always ask when I get to someone's website are these two questions. What can I buy? And what will he do for me? Now, this language, shift your thinking and unlock your hidden potential. Great stuff. Don't know what he does, don't know what I can buy, and I'm not sure the outcome that'll be, right? So that was kind of the beginning point. The second question on the before is, what challenge can you help me solve? Right? This is the second part of his website, was discover your creative and productive superpowers. This is all really good stuff. Learn peak performance, insight, tools, and strategies that will propel you to a new level of success. Visionaries, ambitious professionals, when I look at this, understand, everybody in the world today, people scan sites. They don't read them. They scan them. Okay. So I have no idea what this actually means, right? So my brain immediately moves on. Third question is before, how does his story help me solve my problems? Right? This one's much more about him and not about how his story can help us solve problems. And then on the before, if I replace the word Brandon with another speaker's name, would the copy change at all? Elevate your next event with Mark. Transform your event. There's nothing that would actually change in this, right? And so Brandon came to one of my 2-day brand building workshops, and he literally in 3 days changed his whole website. And we helped him come up with this idea called Impossibility, where he works with all these really tech-oriented companies. They're like, that's impossible. That's impossible. And we changed impossible to impossible, which is really fun. It's really fun play on words. And he shows people how to make things that are impossible actually be possible, right? And now it says keynotes and workshops that equip agile organizations to grow beyond their current limitations and create new possibilities, right? So you get to it and you're like, this is what he's known for. No one else is known for that. And it's these two things, keynotes and workshops, that do the following. And then there's an action I can take, right? So it's fundamentally different now. And this is 72 hours. I mean, this is, I guess technically it was like 2 weeks till he was done, but within 3 days, he had like redesigned his site, right? So my question to you on your header is, do I know what you're known for? Do I know how you can solve our problems? And do I know what I can buy from you? Right? Next thing is that he defined this idea of impossibility, right? It's this mindset that transforms uncertainty and opportunity, conflict into collaboration, and limitations into growth. And right next to it, put one of the best quotes he had of Allstate saying, this was so powerful. So you say, hey, it'll be different like this with a credibility mixed, and it makes them brain believe. Yeah.
The client backs it up. I love what you did on the first one with the word impossibility, showing this little TM. Think about your ideas being so unique that even if you don't trademark it, it could have the little TM by it, because coming up with language that's just yours, that's kind of what people are looking for, something that's really original and exclusive to you. I love this word, Chris. This is fantastic.
Isn't that fun? But I will tell you this, you always need to make it so that your category of one, the trademark that you're known for, is also what they want.
Yes.
Those are the two criteria that I have. Is it has to be what you're known for, like a solution that you can give them, and a solution that they're looking for. They have to meet. Cool. I know that's easier said than done, but there's a process for it. It absolutely works. So second thing is just that he defines the problem. Here's the problem. Agile organizations face relentless pressure to keep up with rapid change. Staying ahead of competitors, unlocking the full potential of teams, and driving consistent growth. It's harder than ever to achieve. But what if these challenges can become the fuel for your next breakthrough? So he's saying like, hey, I know what you're going through. And then his story now yes, he still does magic, right? But it's like along the way, I developed the impossibility framework, a model for change that helps individuals and teams embrace uncertainty, think creatively, and unlock bold innovation. Now, over the past 2 decades, I've done blank, blank, and blank. The way that I think about bios is where did you start? And then what did it help you learn so that you can do what today?
Yeah, that's good.
Right. And so you've got to speak about your bio in direct terms to what it taught you so that you can help them. Too many people's bios are like they're a PhD and they do this and they do that and they do this. It's like, okay, but how does that help us? Right. Then he defined this idea of the path that will lead to change in the way our teams think and work. And he gave us very clear results. Impossibility creates cultures that thrive in a constantly changing environment. You get better ideas more often. You get higher performing teams. You'll get elite level adaptability. Boom, 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 and boom. When you do this, this is what happens. Your website, you tell a complete story with your website, and it will become the salesperson for you. Someone will be thinking about you in Australia, looking you up, and they're 12-hour difference. They're 24-hour time difference on you, and you're asleep, and they're getting a sales conversation. Most people don't think about it. They think about their website a little bit more like we used to with brochures. Like, this is about Cher. This is about Leslie. It's like, nope. This is a story of transformation that you're going to go through, right? So here's what we need in your website. At the header, there's distinction and results. Okay. And I've in your workbooks, I've given you guys all these like mapped out things to put in so you can just follow along, right? Then we identify the audience and their challenges. Then we talk about your story, your credibility, your past clients, and testimonials. Then we teach them something that will make the change in their life. And a lot of times this is just the services that you can provide. You don't have to necessarily create your change model in this moment, but here's the stages that I can help you walk through. Then you give them the results that they can expect. And then there's something that allows them to start learning now, or a magnet offer or some resources, something that gets them going right then. And then if you have any books or products, that's the place to do it. A lot of people put their books and products way too up front, and they need to put it down below because you're building a relationship with someone. And then you get them to start a conversation. Now, here's the deal. This is exactly like you have a conversation with a person. If you were to walk up to someone and shake their hands, they'd be like, what's your name? And you'd say, I'm Chris. And they'd say, what's your name? Steven. Cool. Steven, what do you do? Right? That's the distinction and the solution. I help people blank, blank, and blank. Oh, that's interesting. How do you do that? Well, they have all these, and you would probably in a conversation be like, what are you dealing with? They would describe their challenges. Oh, that's actually something I've dealt with a lot. Blah, 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 blah. You would tell them your story. And what's interesting with that challenge is that if you do this, that'll be different. Can you help with that? Yeah. Here's the way that I could do. You give them the services you can do. A lot of people have their services so high. It's like, don't tell me what you can do yet. Meet
I'm
me.
not ready.
Yeah, we're not ready. They're going through a buying process. So just some prompts to help think about this is for the header section. What's your brand distinction? What services do you offer? And what results do you deliver? And what action can they take? Right. I'm going to give you 3 examples here and I'm going fast, but you've got all this and you'll have the slides after. This idea that with Cassandra was change enthusiasm. That's her distinction. Keynotes, consulting, and virtual solutions. Okay, so I know exactly what she offers me to ensure your organization has the mindset, the behavior, and tools to grow through change. So I know what you offer and what and then I can take an action, which is watch you. Cool.
Let's talk about that for just a second, Chris. It's too soon to say book me at this stage because you're wanting to build a lot of people will put some sort of call to action that's straight to a conversation up here. I love the idea of having the video up high right there, ready to roll. Talk a little bit about booking me being up too high.
Yeah. I will say that the number one thing that we all want, and we're all aware of this now, right, is you got to make it so that you're easy to work with. Right. So with every website I do, and I think most of you already do this, right, is that you want to make it so that the ideal audience has really easy resources to book you on, right? So if we think about this, and you see that there's this connect and there's this meeting professionals page, it's really designed for your ideal audience to have all the things that they need, right? This, and this, and the way to book it and how to book it. And we're always like highlighting book, contact us and like book and, I like either contact or book us or whatever. I don't mind that top part, Jane, like some type of action that they can take. Being, and Brandon, I think, did pretty good with the book Brandon now because he didn't have his video updated yet. But like in one way or another, and Steven, who's on this line, I think Steven, I just glanced at his website today because he's done this before. I absolutely love, it's like, boom, boom. And like, this is where we struggle. And this is how Steven's background is so fun and what he did. And then here's the way that you're going to actually make a difference. And then here's the ways that, he can work with you. It's a process. It's a story. Steve and I was realizing that the one thing that we still can do on yours is you still just need to give us some results. Is the only thing missing is what will be different.
Can you go back up to the top there? I want to also respond because Steve Shapiro has been around a lot, and there are going to be speakers like Cassandra and him who the client is actually ready to book. They are a little bit more ready. And so if you're just starting out, maybe what I think is super duper important is making sure that content, that contact us button is very, very clear and present, and that I don't have to fill out a form to get in touch with you. That's a speakers bureau's pet peeve, is that they have to jump through a lot of hoops to actually find it or to get a message to you without filling out the form. See how Steve had his phone number and his email address at the top, and then a very quick little form, not a big long 27 questions. Who's your firstborn form, but really, really simple for people to get in touch with you.
And even he maps it out. You'll do this to make it easy. But yeah, make the thing be easy to work with, easy to contact, easy to get a hold of, easy. That's the number one thing we all want, is make this easy.
And cool. It sounds like he's in the middle of a redo right now. Anyway, Chris, so there you go. There are a few more things coming.
Cool. So I just put you totally on the spot there, but that's okay. Right. So really quickly double checking where I am on our thing. So as we continue on here, I don't know where let me just make sure I can go back on. Okay. Cause I thought that was the website. I was looking for my share screen, and it looked like it was Cassandra's website, but it was just the PowerPoint. Okay. So I shared with you, what's your brand distinction, what services you offer, what action can they take, right? So here's an example of Cassandra's. Here's an example of the Van Hoosier group. It's, this idea is level up your leaders, just one idea. And we're really clear: keynotes and training and executive coaching that empower executives, established and emerging leaders to take their teams to the next level. And I can see leadership development, employee engagement, and influence and communication. I'm just super clear about what they do and what results I'll create. Worked with a great team called Sky Team. They're so fun. And it's just a simple idea. Your leaders will achieve big results with and through others. It's leadership development, it's team alignment, and it's executive coaching. It should be so like a kid could tell you what they do. Make it so clear what you do and how you will help them be successful. Cool? That's your header. Next up is
there's a question on whether or not people will get the slides. I don't believe that that's part of what we're going to share after the
fact. Yeah, we are. That's all ready to go for you guys. Okay. And I'll share the link for that.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
So then writing prompts, use the specific words you've used you've heard from your clients. Okay. It's so important. You use the words that they have said. So many people tell me, here's what people are really dealing with. I'm like, did they say that? They're like, well, they don't say that. They say this. It's like, good. Say the thing they say. Questions are a really great way to voice the questions that they are asking themselves. and you want to define their challenge and then let them know how you can help them solve it. That's three different things. I'm giving you some different ideas and I'll give you examples of that, right? Like with Cassandra's, we defined it. Here's the problem and here's how I can help you solve it. With the Van Hoosiers, it's like, look, your leaders are in a world of complexity. So let's make leadership simple. When leaders and executives know the fundamentals of leadership, your team is poised to be successful in any environment. It's like, the problem is that the world is complex. We're going to make it simple. And with Sky Team, we're using specific words across the globe. You tell us we want our leaders to unlock the team's full potential, help them feel like they belong, and be more successful. The challenge is that most leaders are really good at a totally different job. They have not learned to create big results with and through others, which leads to all the things you don't love, like turnover and dissatisfaction and low engagement and lack of team alignment, right? So we're just defining the problem in their words. Cool. At which point you can then tell us your story. Some of the prompts for you are show us your credibility through some of the key career milestones. You know, Mark was became a PhD or professor of this, taught this, and this. And today, keywords here is today, he guides leaders all throughout the world in blank, blank, and blank. We have to know what you do today and how the background qualifies you to do what you do today. If you can show us you understand by telling us your backstory, that's really helpful. And then this is the time and place to put a lot of your credibility. Some of the logos, a lot of people lead it with it up at the top. That's okay too. But here's the time to back it up, your story with the credibility, because it's a guide kind of thing. Like, I've worked with all of these people, so I can help you be successful. So we've got Cassandra's story, right? And she's telling this story early on in my career when my company was in the aftermath of a $5 billion acquisition. I almost quit. It's like, oh, so I'm into this, right? With the Van Hoosiers, what makes the difference? There's these scrolling experiences of all the different things they have, 40 plus years of leadership experience, combined with cutting edge research on new generational shifts, doom. So this is the part where they tell us why they're so uniquely qualified to solve our problem. This is where Sky Team says, we're here to help you. And the reason we can help you is we're truth seekers. We're truth speakers. We show up hard first. We're skilled facilitators. We're authentic. We live by what we say. And we tend to be a little irreverent. Right. And so we got to play a lot with this because this is so them. So you tell us a little bit about you and then tell us either the services you offer to solve our problem or what steps will lead to our success. You want to define the experience they will have with you in steps. So if we were to give some of these examples, right, with Cassandra, it's which option will drive the best results for your organization. With them, we've got this idea of what we're going to do next. And we've got all of them, right? And then with Sky Team, your success and joy are our highest priority, right after coffee and snacks. What will drive the best results for you? And then there's different options for them.
That actually brings up something important, Chris, is that your personality needs to be present in all of this language that you're giving. These people obviously want to have some fun along the way. And so they talk about coffee and snacks. And I think that that's so, so important that we get the flavor of you at the same time.
Yeah, I love this. So what I want you guys all to hear at this point, just so you know, is that if you were to take your brand content and all your keynotes and everything and make your own ChatGPT know you, and then take the outline of what I just share with you in this workbook and say, write my website for me, ChatGPT can do that now, which is awesome. At least give you a really strong start. So we've got the unbelievable advantage of AI these days to make everything so much easier. And of course, you want to do it in your style, in your flavor, right? Yep. So well said. So, and then the final thing with showing the results it's not the final, but you want to show the results, which are what specific results will your keynotes help them achieve? And you want to use client testimonials about their experience with you as one example, or you could say, how will these results make their lives better? Just some helpful prompts, right? So with Cassandra's thing, it's look at these outcomes: outcome 1, outcome 2, outcome 3, outcome 4. You'll get higher employee, that'll lead to this. You'll get faster timelines, which will lead to this. Greater levels of success, which will lead to this, right? So it's super clear about what's going to happen after. With the Van Hoosiers, it's like, look, equipped leaders will connect with, listen to, and deeply know their team members. That'll drive this, and that'll lead to that, and that'll lead to that. And on their website, it just leads right to a conversation with them. And it's like a path, like you're going to get this and this and this, and that'll give you this, and let's have a conversation. And with these guys, your success will be measurably felt in an HR appropriate way. Here's what we consistently hear. And it was before, and when you hovered over these, it flipped to what was after, right? So people could see the transformation on the screen. And after the results, you give them something they can do right away. Do you have a magnet offer? What's the most high value tool? If you say this is the one that's worth $1,000 or $10,000, just this tool alone, Chris, give it to them for free. So many people, and I'm not dissing this at all. It's like, get the first chapter of my book. It's like, it's not that valuable to me. Like, what's the most high value thing you can give me? Turn that into a product or a service that'll be like, here is the specific way that you can turn one of your least performing, employees into the highest performing. Like, write that document out, throw it into ChatGPT, use Fiverr, and get a tool and give me that thing that makes me give me your email, or me to give you my email. Or what resources do you have available to them? Let them maybe start learning through your book or your blog or your video. So, examples is like right after we get the results, we have a book that she can give us, right? Or ways to start leveling up your leaders right now. Like, check out this is why they're going to start buying into you. With, them, it's the good stuff. Slightly addictive resources to help you build better relationships, improve your leadership, and find more joy in work and life. The mindset, the blog, the people first, the corporate bartender. It's like, what are these? I got to know about them.
I love the unicorn, and I love the language and how much fun it is, and the personality is showing through. Cassandra's homepage photography, people, oozes enthusiasm, and that's what she's talking about. Change enthusiasm is her brand, and so this enthusiasm is coming right off the page in her photography as well. So be aware of it. And something I want to say, Chris, is Cassandra is probably, and I haven't talked to her in a long time, so I'm going to say somewhere between $30,000 and $40,000 in fees. So just so you're seeing some pretty high-end speakers here. If you're just starting out, you might not be able to afford to have this like high level, but there's a way to show enthusiasm on an iPhone photograph. So
well, at the same time though, Jane, I have to tell you,
yes,
she wasn't at that fee when the website went live or the video went live. And guys, I'm not telling you all
there
to
quickly.
I'm not telling you at all to waste money. And a lot of people try to buy their way into it. But one of the things is I just see too many people sort of nickel and dime their way to like success. And I will tell you, this is just my philosophy in life is whenever I want to go to a new level, I find the best person who does that. I find out how much they cost to work with, and I say, done. Even if I don't have it. I mean, these days I do, but early on in my career, almost everybody I ever reached out to who was at the place I wanted to be was way more than I had money for. And what I did was go, awesome. Okay, the answer is yes. Give me 2 months. And I would put it on my refrigerator, and I would visualize that exact amount of money coming in exactly the way I needed it. And I would orient myself to do it, and I would be ready for it. And every single time I just find the right person and I say, what does it cost? They tell me it. I say it, I pay for it. And the website and the video is going to show the quality of what you do. And so get high quality stuff. Don't cheap your way to do it. So many people are like, yeah, but I can design my own website. I know you can. And it looks like you did.
Yeah.
right?
Thank
It does. It looks like you made it. And so it's like, I want to be perceived as a really high thing. And now Cassandra had everything, but once her website reflected her personality and once her video did it, that Labib is a great example. And Labib on here, I just think Labib was a great example of a doctor who's awesome, who came to one of the workshops that I was able to do. And man, Labib, you've turned your website and your brand into such a high quality so quick.
Mm.
That yeah. And yeah, it wasn't that much. It wasn't like he spent a gazillion dollars, but he long story short, you don't have to be a high like really high fee speaker to intentionally make yourself look that way from the beginning and then
Mm.
use that to rise up to that.
Love it. Love it. Okay.
Cool. So
Chris,
Jane,
are we ready?
yeah.
Sorry, go
So
ahead.
no, I just wanted to share with everybody that I'm going to give you the link where you can get all these slides. And then Jane, what we're going to do is we're going to have everybody just use this in their workbook, and we're going to break down into breakout sessions in just a few minutes. And I want everyone, we'll show you the prompt, but we're just going to be saying, what's one area that you can strengthen your website on when you look at your own? It's not like you have to show it to people, but you
No.
also can share your screen and ask people any feedback, right? But one of the things that would be a disservice to you guys is if we didn't tell you at all, like how we can help, right? So Jane, do you want to just mention a few things about how you can help if anyone's like, what do I do next?
So over here at the Wealthy Speaker School Mastermind, I would say that we are working with speakers who are on their way to their first 100K in speaking. And we teach that action category all day long. What are the actions that you need to take? So inside the Wealthy Speaker School, I have my book, The Wealthy Speaker 3.0. It's the third version of the book that I've written, where we follow a process called Ready, Aim, Launch. And we walk you through a very logical process in order to move you through the phases to launch. When people come to me from Chris's world, I know that they've got Ready and Aim already checked, and now we're going to get really juicy with launch. So we also offer private coaching for people who are further along in their work, and they are looking for a higher level kind of hand-holding with somebody one-on-one to help them figure out what their lane is going to be, what their promise is going to be. And a lot of the things that we've been talking about here in your story, in your marketing, those are all things that we can talk about. And so private coaching as well as our mastermind are the offerings that we have. And all I would suggest is that you write me an email and tell me where you're at. What is it that you're looking for? And we'll book a call and we'll chat and we'll see whether or not we're a good fit for something.
Yeah. And Jane, what I love about anyone who works with you is they get 30 years of industry knowledge. Like everyone always levels up when they're around you. It's like something about who you are. They just get sharper, better, and way more in line. So it's awesome.
We might have somebody who needs to mute. If you've got something going on at your end, hang on, Chris, I might need to do a mute all.
Yeah, you can say mute all.
No.
I've never done that before like that. So.
Hold on. I actually don't see it. Oh, there it is. 1 second. You're going to have to unmute, okay?
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Okay.
Cool. And then just so you guys are aware, these are just any ways that I might be able to help, just so you can visually see and have it on your board or anything. Ways that I can help are this. First thing is that I love helping people build their brand start to finish. And I've done this one-on-one for years. It's something that I still do one-on-one, but my favorite thing in the world to do now is in a small cohort when we have 5 people at one time in 2 days, build their brand. We can film and edit your reel. And because a challenge for so many people over the years is I need a really big stage for either new content that I have, or I haven't been on a really big stage yet. We work with one of the largest venues in Portland, and so there's been enough requests that we actually almost about once every 6 weeks now have a day where you can just fly in and get all of your stuff done in one day on a massive stage that we customize for every single individual speaker. So it's completely unique for every single person, like a real event, as well as creating your website, right? So just want you to know, those are the 3 areas that I can help you with. If you're like, I gotta up level my brand, the next time I'm doing that is June 27th to 28th. And it is 2 days. It's a Friday and Saturday. And you come out of it with your entire speaking brand developed and really clear outline of your video so that you know exactly what to do. We do these days in Portland. The next 2 are June 17th and July 15th. You can always email us, but anytime you need new content or like, oh, I just developed my brand to a new level and I need some of this new footage in my video, you can fly in and get a beautiful customized keynote stage to up level. We film people's keynote and interview and story footage all in one day. So I've got like an 8-person team already ready for you to do it, which is really fun. And then with websites, we have literally 3 price options, things that are built around all of it, the branding, the copywriting, SEO, design, development. For wherever you are, I've designed a specific plan and a team in place to make that happen. So if that's helpful, that's the way to think about it. Those are the 3 areas I can help you. And the next question is, for you guys as you go into it, is what are your action items for your website? Okay. So that's what we're going to go into the breakout room to do. During the breakout room is the time to use the restroom, take a quick stand up if you need to. I'm going to put my email as well in the chat in case you have any questions on anything today. Just feel free to email me, and we'll also put up a URL for the slides so that everybody can download them if you need this. Cool.
Okay, so we're going to do 8 rooms. It's going to be 6 or 7 participants per room. And the timer is now set for 15 minutes. And so whoever shows up in the top left corner, you are going to be the room boss, and make sure that you leave some time for your people to take a break, either at the beginning or at the end. Dean's room had a terrific idea. They just got their head down and went to work. In this situation, it could be, here are the things that I'm going to be working on related to my website, or perhaps you want to share your screen and show people, and be very specific about your ask. What I'd like to know is, boom, here's my above the fold. Do you get it? Are you understanding what it is that I do? And if people don't get it, then you'll have something that you can work on. Anything else before we send them off?
That's it.
Okay. All right. I think we're going to recreate. I will not be including you this time, Chris. Hang on. And we are going to open all the rooms. Okay. So we'll see you in 15. Hey, welcome back, everybody. As we wait for the groups to come on back to the main room, I wanted to share with you where I am today. This is what it looks like every morning here. Not every single morning, obviously, sometimes it rains, but this is what it looks like in the mornings. And the reason why I wanted to share this with you was because this vision of all of this happened years and years and years ago. And so we know that the vision is a really important part of our planning process. But just circling back to that whole kind of thought and mindset piece here for a second. At the beginning of COVID, when I was in my fear spiral, Chris said something about, hey, he doesn't make decisions based on fear. I had to remind myself on about day 4 of that week that, hey, wait a second, I make decisions based on fear. And so during that process, Chris kind of said, he called me up and said, Jane, I think we should do a brand camp. People need us now more than ever. And I wrote that down. It was so powerful to me, that thought. People need me now more than ever. The thought was so powerful that the Post-it remains on my desktop back at home. Every time I go to my desk, I look at it. People need me now more than ever. It was like flipping a switch. I had been reeling, and I actually set this impossible goal. It's something that Brooke Castillo had us do at the beginning of COVID. She said, go ahead and set a short-term impossible goal. And so we set it for about a 3-month time limit. And I set an impossible goal of earning $50,000 in the first few weeks of COVID. Chris says to me, people need us now more than ever. So my thought changes from an unintentional thought, which is my industry is in big, big trouble. Oh no. Over to people need me now more than ever. And the switch flipped. We had 3 months to earn our impossible goal, and I did it in about 4 weeks. And so I just want to reinforce to you all that you're thinking about, okay, can I afford to make an investment here? Or can I, I'm kind of nervous about what's going on in the economy right now. Like Chris was saying, tariffs and this and that and all the other things that are going on. And be very, very careful of where your thoughts are at any given time in your speaking business, and really make sure that you're attaching positive, confident thoughts when you're doing your outbound outreach to clients. We really want to have our head on and locked down into something confident before we start making those calls. And so I just wanted to reinforce the idea that this process can be incredibly powerful. And I also want to say thank you, Chris, because had you not come to me and said people need us now more than ever, I probably wouldn't have flipped the switch as quickly as I did. And if you ever want to look up the brand camp, by the way, go out onto YouTube, search my name or Chris's name and brand camp, and you'll see the one from 2020. It was really, really good. This one is more current and even better. And this part of the session, we're going to even talk about AI, which will bring you even more up to speed. So just a little reminder to keep that mindset in check as we go through this process.
Beautiful. Thank you, Jane, so much. And truly, everybody, if I were to be able to hook you up right now to an EEG on your mind and a heart monitor on your heart, and hook it up to some of the machines that we have available to us today, every thought that you have, we would be able to see a frequency that's coming out of you. And every feeling that you have, we'd be able to see the electromagnetic pole or pulse coming off of your body. Every thought that you have is a frequency. Every feeling that you have is an electric magnetic thing. What does that mean? It means that you are a giant magnet, and every single one of us, without ever ending, is always lining up with wherever we are energetically, because it's literally science. It just works this way, right? Mm-hmm. It's spirituality and science mixed in our world today. We finally understand how it works. And so we didn't understand fully until on a scientific level, the way that vision, meditation affected all of us and mindset affected all of us. Now we can see it, that if you combine a thought, the feeling of being on planes in terms of like the feeling of looking out the window and be going into another well-paid speaking engagement, that thought with a feeling connected to it. Now there's 4 feelings that are the most elevated feelings you can have. And so I just want to throw this out there because most people don't realize that if you're in a place where you're feeling frustrated, worried, if you've watched a little bit of the news, you're feeling a little bit scared, you can get yourself into a peak state by having a thought and connecting it to an elevated emotion. And these are the 4 most elevated emotions you can feel: love, joy, gratitude, and freedom. Love, joy, gratitude, freedom. There's a guy online named Barry Goldstein, whether you're on Spotify or iTunes or anything, Barry Goldstein. And he makes music that has really, really high frequency frequencies, and it's very, very enjoyable music. You put headphones in, you start breathing, and you start imagining being on stages or working with ideal clients or stuff, and you feel the feeling that you have when you do it. That's what you should do before you start outbound on anything you're doing. That's what you should do before you do anything, is you have to get yourself into a peak state. Is that we so often are doing things on default. And Jane was just talking about that unconscious to conscious, unintentional to intentional. If I'm off, I stop everything, right? It is like, I'm off. I'm not emailing. I'm not responding to clients. I'm not doing anything. I'm going to go sit in the chair and put on some Barry Goldstein. I'm going to spend the next 10 minutes breathing and feeling. And by the time I do it, I'm in a different peak state, and then I can move. A lot of times I'm not trying to go from like angry and sad to love. That's too high of a jump. The question is, can I feel a little bit better? Like, what would make me, and often I use YouTube. I'm like, okay, I know where I'm at right now emotionally and energetically, and I know I will keep lining up with anything here. Let me look up funny videos on YouTube just to get myself happy, right? And then I'll move to like, what am I grateful for? And I know that many of you guys teach this, but I cannot say it enough. If you aren't in a regular practice of just writing down what you're grateful for, your brain cannot feel gratitude and stress and anxiousness at the same time. It can't. So when you feel off, just get out a sheet of paper or have an actual gratitude journal and just have that sucker filled. And every time you're off, just get back to what I'm grateful for, what I'm grateful for, what I'm grateful for, with new music, because music is the fastest way to change a state. Okay. Some of you guys already teach this, is your guys' world, but I just want you to know the one to look up is Barry Goldstein.
Rocking out to Barry.
Yeah. All of it is music is really high frequencies. So your body will actually adapt, will actually rise up.
It's vibrational.
Vibrational.
I love that.
The whole universe is just vibrations.
Okay, so close us out on video. And I'm super excited to hear what some of the new things are that you have been learning so much these days. And you're just a constant man in growth mode. And I love hearing what you talk about.
Cool. Thank you, Jane. So when it comes to your speaker reel, I'm going to talk to you about how to structure out a speaker reel, and you guys have outlined in your workbook. But before I do, I want to give you 3 really powerful tools. I want to talk to you about Eddy AI, 11 Labs, and Suno. So a couple things on this. So if I were to do a new share, and I'm going to make sure that I can show you on this, is Eddy AI is a really cool tool now, which is an online editor. And you can go to it, and it works kind of like ChatGPT, where you can say, I want social media clips, or I want whatever. But so say I say click social media clips, right? You add a video file of a new keynote that you come up with, and you start prompting it. Make it do this, make it do that, do this. And it'll actually export out clips of your keynote. You could say add subtitles, turn it into 16:9 so that it's on like phones. You can start queuing it to do things. So if you've got speaking clips and speaking content, or an interview you've had recently, or a podcast, upload this content and say, break it into 4 different social media clips, or identify like the best stuff out of it, right? I'm just going to go back and go forward with Hey Eddy. If I were to get rid of this and not do the this, I'll just go back to the beginning and delete this. You can see how many different things there are. I want to do 2 to 10 minute rough cuts, or I want to do like multi-camera podcast. Every time it's on one person, I've got shots of the person I was interviewing and me, put them back and forth and spice them into one video. You can do all kinds of things now, and you don't need to pay someone to do it these days by just using heyeddy.ai. Okay. Which is really cool.
I'm writing down this timestamp, 2 hour, 46 minutes, because I I want my social media team to review this information because this is so good. It makes it so easy.
Yeah, it's very cool. So, and obviously you could just upload the whole thing into our whole brand camp into it and be like, separate it into the 3 different sections and the 3 different thing. Also, like, identify there's several parts that I talked about mindset, make that a standalone video, etc. It'll make the cuts for you as an editor would.
Is Eddie AI a paid for service, Chris? Just let us know all 3 of them, what their costs are, please.
Right. So then once you, I don't know exactly the cost because it's like there's a lot of free version things you can do, but then once you want to do more, there's more. I can't remember what the cost is.
Looks like you're not on pro and you can still do all that stuff. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, like everything these days, a lot of times it'll just let you start and then it'll let you do things, but not that much.
Okay.
Right. So, and they got to get paid. They developed a lot of good stuff for us. So it's a lot cheaper than paying someone, right?
Yeah. And there are some amazing, Mark and I just did a podcast on all the things that are amazing tools that speakers can use. And these are fantastic. Thank you.
Good. The next one is this, 11labs.io. It's true. We do want them to stay in business, but anybody like me, I'm not going to be replaced by AI. I'm just using AI more effectively. So 11labs.io is a really great thing to be able to generate audio for different things. Say you want an intro to your podcast or you want to do different things. But the thing that I want to share with you on is this idea of voice cloning. And with voice cloning, why it's important is if you have a keynote that you love and it's high quality and it looks amazing, but you said the lines wrong in some part, or it didn't go right. Or for example, you need to update it with some new content that just started being new, right? Thanks, Cher, for letting us know the Hey Eddie options. You can actually upload just 10 minutes or even 2 minutes of your keynote and it'll clone your voice. And then you can type in to this bar what you want to say instead, and it'll sound exactly the same as you. Why is this helpful? We use this all the time now when clients ask us to update their video or something was a mistake was made, for example. And so I'm going to share sound and optimize for video so you guys can hear this. Jay Bear recently had a really fun video that we had made, and we'd done a really cool we'd done a really cool cinematic production of the things he talks about in the industry. And so he's saying that, and I want you guys, I'll have subtitles on this, is he's saying that as customer expectations change, and there's a few things that you can put your focus on between the time we made the video in 2023 and 2025, those few things changed. In the past, he would have to have us redesign the whole video, but he just sent over, I wanted to say this instead. So
expectations change and constantly escalate. The levers that you can pull to outperform your competition change right alongside. In the past, I've talked about social media as a competitive advantage. I've talked about content marketing, empathy, word of mouth as a competitive advantage. But right now, the new competitive advantage is understanding what actually creates customer loyalty today, because it's not the same as it used to be.
So my question to you is, which part of that was AI? And that's the great thing, is that in his first video, these lines right here, on these slides here, today customer loyalty, right? These said something else and they were a different topic, but that was what mattered most 2 years ago. And today, what matters most to people is what actually creates customer loyalty today.
Actually creates customer loyalty today, because it's not the same.
It is totally different. And then when we get to his interview, we see him speaking, but then we needed him to like say something a little bit different. And so like he does this first party research, and the new research he had done over the last 2 years was a little bit different. And so we just changed these words here.
Advantage over the next 2 or 3 years. The research is in, and right now, customers care most about 3 things. They want you to be quick, they want you to be clear, and they want you to be kind.
Before I didn't say want to be quick, clear, and kind. Right? And so if you've got an interview, if you've got a video these days, you can have high quality videos and then just change things over time as you need using 11 Labs and just cloning like 2 minutes of your keynote. You just upload it, then type in what you need it to say, and it will sound exactly like that keynote or exactly that interview, and then splice it back into your video. And you don't have to spend a lot of time re-editing your video, including if there's any time in any keynote where you make a mistake, just make that line more clear and more clean. And, or if your event planner says, I wish you would talk about this. It's like, well, I talked about it in that talk. You know, you can just add it as needed. And of course, just so you know, on both our end and for you, right? We do everything ethically, meaning we don't have someone say words that they don't actually say. Right? It's just that they hadn't recorded them yet. Or, you know, I want to sound better than I do. It's like, that's not the way we do it. It's just for an easy way so you don't have to redo everything. And a great example, Steven should just shared with everyone that he cloned his voice in 11 Labs and recorded the entire audiobook using it. I was actually thinking the same thing today on audiobook today, Steven. So that's awesome. Right? Yep. There it is. Ruth said, can you do it for audiobooks? Yes, you can.
So for anybody like me who has been hesitating to get their book up on Audible, I've really wanted to, but I haven't wanted to. And so I haven't done it yet. Steve, thank you. I may be in touch about that. And I'm super, super excited about this possibility. The world just keeps opening new doors for us on a daily basis. And just walking through them is all that it takes. And I like what you said, Chris. Let's make sure that it never crosses the line into, I am just pretending that all of these ideas are mine when they don't start in yours. Okay. So let's be really clear on that. You cannot be a true expert if you're not studying the actual expertise. And let's not rely on AI to come up with our thoughts.
For sure. That's so crucial. Cool. Last tool just to share with you all as just a good one, simple one, but pretty fun. I just love this Suno tool. It lets you create your own music really simply. And you can even use, like, if you have lyrics that are your brand, say you want to have a song about, you know, something that you teach, you can describe what the kind of style you want it to be in. And you can describe like your lyrics about your brand distinction. Or you can just, for a new video that you have coming up, you can just say, I want this style of music, and it will generate it in seconds. And you can do it over and over and only download the ones that you want. And if you pay, it's like $5 to $8 a month, you can license them as much as you want. And this is generating music for you. And often if I need a little fill in, like I need this speaker video to like have this tone for like 20 or 30 seconds. And I need it to make, instead of going through tons of music libraries, I can just describe it and start having it generate different options. And so if you've got sort of some brand specialty that's fun to you, you can actually create your own songs with it, but you can also use this to create great intros for podcasts, for books, for videos that you create, anything. You can use suno.com to do that. Or Suno. Yeah. Cool.
Love it. Love it.
All right. Those are 3 great AI tools that make it do it. So,
okay.
Yeah. So thanks, Stephen, for saying, you know, what he did in the chat. Technically they won't let you use AI voices. Yeah.
Okay. So for video, let's get into, we only have about 20 minutes, Chris. So what
Yep.
are the most important pieces of video?
Yeah. So then just building up onto what we talked about already before is that you're creating transformation, right? And so your video should create transformation too. And so when you think about your speaker video, each of you have prompts to outline some of the key content for your speaker video. Just think about it in this way. The opening of your video should solve a problem and give a solution. And I'll talk about that. Then you should give them insight into why they're having the problem in their organization in the first place. And this is really powerful because most editors, and unless they were trained by our team, don't realize that the second thing a speaker video should do after it's said, here's the problem you're dealing with and solution it should give people insight into their problem in a way that they go, oh my goodness, he's right or she's right. Right. And this is where I talked with all of you guys, and I was in our breakout room, the first one, saying, what's the way that you describe it better than anyone else? Is why are they having the problem with the 5 generations, and what would make things different? Like, give them insight. Find that part in your keynote where you give them insight, at which point the video should talk about you and your expertise and why you're qualified to solve that problem. And then it should start teaching them. If you're going to make this change in your life, you need to do it this way. Give a teaching sound clip. Sorry, a teaching and a testimonial. Teach them something, written testimonial that says they're really good. Teach them something, written testimonial. And what that's doing is it's making the brain believe the teaching works because someone else said it works. And then you want to show these really clear results. So how you do that is, in the beginning, one of the ways that works best is one of two things: either telling a story or asking questions that directly address the challenges that you're best at helping your clients solve, right? So that could look like, as I work with leaders all throughout the country, one of the things I hear, one of the most consistent questions I hear is, boom, how do I lead 5 different generations at once when most of them care about different things? You know, I have these younger people who don't feel like they want to work very hard. I've got the older generation saying they're really frustrated by them. I've got leaders and these managers. How do you, and then you ask a direct question that they're all asking themselves. Then you have to give them an answer. The secret is, boom, and then you give them your solution, right? And if you have some testimony, like 1 or 2 testimonials during that time, as well as visuals of all of you in lots of different spaces with inspiring music, that is an opening that will say, here's your problem and here's my solution to it. At which point you teach them something they don't currently know about their current challenge. See, what we miss as leaders in our world today, when we do have 5 generations in the workplace, is, and you just drop that knowledge bomb on them that they don't realize, or why we have turnover, or right? In Steven's new video that he just did about personality poker, his big insight moment, and the team knew exactly to kind of go to that insight moment, is that opposites don't attract, they actually detract in their world today. But the reality is, you can't have innovation in a company without lots of different kinds of ideas and personalities. So how do you get a bunch of different kind of people mixed together? And the big insight was, you can't have innovation without these differences. And then it talks about how he's an expert in this. So you show your background, you've done blank, blank, and blank, and blank, and blank. And then you start teaching them. If you want things to be different in your organization, this is what you have to do. You set it up, and then you just teach them a quick sound clip. And there's someone who says, they're really good. Sound clip, they're really good. Sound clip, they're really good. And at the end, you start saying, when you get this right, here's what you're going to see. Boom, 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 and boom. There's parts in every keynote where you're talking about change that's happened. It's in a story, or it's in a part of your keynote where there's some type of result. You want to find that and put it at the end with very inspirational music and sound clips happening, right? This is the outline. And when you know this formula, the whole world opens up, because you can do an infinite amount of styles of video. And if you were to look at like 10 or 15 videos of ours lined up, and now I told you exactly how we did it, you would be able to start picking out the parts, but each one would feel so different for that speaker that without knowing this, you wouldn't know that's how it's being made. It's the same way that, like, I write scripts and write stories so much that I can't watch a movie or video or a new show coming out on Apple or Google or Netflix where I can't see every single thing that's happening because I like see it. But like, even though I can see it, I still enjoy it. There's a formula for how our brain processes story. And the best speaker video will start out with the problem and a solution to it, teach us why we're having the problem in the first place, show why you're uniquely qualified, teach us the steps to be different, and then results that you can experience, right? And for the sake of time, I have like a 5-minute video to show you guys, but I want to be able to answer questions. So I'm going to just show you just a very simple, quick 1-minute video. And I'll put the link in the, I'm going to put it in, actually, I think it'll optimize enough. I'll see. We'll see how it goes. I'll just share my screen. I want everybody to just watch 40 seconds of a video. So stay on mute, click on this video, watch 41 seconds and come right back and we'll talk about it. Cool.
Chris, I got an error message when I went to bring it up. Yeah, it's got a password protected, I think, on it. Do you want to just share your screen and share the 40 seconds? Hang on, now you're on mute too.
I probably will. Try this one.
Okay.
Oh, is it still private?
Yeah. That was okay.
Does it work now?
Hang on.
Okay, great. Thanks, everyone. All right. So coming right back, right? What I want you guys to hear is it can be so simple. And I'm going to share with optimized sound so you can hear a few things, right? Is that when we're creating a speaker video and when you're thinking about your own video, I want you to think about these 4 layers. Okay. You can write these down. These are the key 4 layers. Number 1, does my speaking say a problem and a solution to that problem? That's layer 1. Layer 2, is my music hopeful? Too many editors make these videos like dun, dun, dun. People always remember the first 6 seconds they experience you. People always remember the first 6 seconds the way that your video feels to them. What you want to do is strike hope into their hearts. So 1, my words say the problem and the solution? While I'm saying a problem, is the music, number 2, hopeful? Number 3, is there some type of credibility just written quickly, briefly in those first 30 seconds, 1 or 2 times to prove to people that other people, there's social proof. We're very social animals. We have to know other people like them. So number 1, I'm saying the problem and the solution. Number 2, I have hopeful music. Number 3, I have social proof. And number 4, they see me visually in multiple places so that they know I don't just speak on one stage. There's more here. I always tell our team, in the first minute, I want to see everything. I want to see their whole thing. So I know, wow, okay, they're all over. Right. And if I were to play this for you.
Today, we're in a world in which change defines the present and uncertainty permeates the future. How do we?
Just a couple ideas. Look at this, just quick flashes, right? You didn't see them all clearly, but it's just like boat. She was in a different place. She's in Finland here. Now she's signing books. Now New York, we're in New York, which is where she was speaking. There's this big event. It happened so quick, but it's like, just flash through as many things as you have. I don't care if all you've got are just some interviews on YouTube with just podcasts. Like, give me a quick overview of like, wow, she does more than just this one thing you're saying. It's the combination of these 4 layers. You would never know it outside, but intentionally I'm training the brain to go credible. She can solve your problem. She's got a solution to it and you have hope. Cool.
Lead effectively.
So then she says, here's the problem. Then she asks a question. In all of this, how do we lead effectively?
How do we lead effectively amidst all this flux?
And then someone says something like, we wanted a trustworthy outside voice who would help us build our future. If you ever can find any testimony of yours that someone's been giving to say trustworthy, or what's something that makes them believe about you, right? So it's this combination, these layers of problem, solution, mixed with credibility, other people saying yes, hopeful music, and as many places as we can show her to speak. And then she gives us insight.
But just because the future feels chaotic doesn't mean your approach has to be. We need to learn how to improve our relationship to uncertainty and how to harness the unknown to drive positive change.
Now, gold star for anybody who knows next. What happens in the video? There's the opening, the problem and the solution. There's insight into why we have this problem. What will happen next in this video?
Credibility.
Yeah, credibility, right? So watch what happens.
I can't think of a better speaker to offer insights into flux.
She is ranked one of the 50 leading female futurists in the world by Forbes.
World Economic Forum Young Global Leader.
There you go. Thank you so much.
And we're just bringing in these messages all along the way. She's really good. Good things happen, you know, and it's going and we get this thing. And then what does the guide do? The guide gives us their big idea or the thing that will make change. And so I think you can only hear audio, but like watch what she says immediately after they all introduce her and the video speaks about her.
Institutions as well as governments ranging from
Let's go here.
April Rini. My proposed solution for how to bring calm and clarity to at least some of this messiness and how to develop the skills we need to bring so many things back into balance is what I call a flux mindset.
And now we know what she's going to help us do, right? And then at which point the video will, you know, now it's going to teach us a few things. And just a quick question answered before people ask it is, well, how long should these be? Every bureau will tell you, I want a 2-minute version of your video. But when someone's making a really big decision, they tend to watch it more later on. And so we kind of create our videos to be like by 2 minutes, you could stop this video and you've got, it's a beautiful full story and it's done. So we make full versions by 2 minutes, but then we kind of take them on a next journey and we draw them in a little bit more. And I think that if they watch the 5 minutes, it's on the second or third time when they're making that final decision between her and 2 other people. And so we do make 2-minute versions of all of our videos. It's the first 2 minutes. And right here, it just stops and says, learn how to book April. But then the longer version carries on and takes us on a longer journey and teaches us more. And we just let the video breathe for a little bit. And she just starts teaching us things. And there's real speaking, long-term speaking. I will tell you the answer these days, I think, is a little bit of both. You do a short version and a long version because people sometimes still need to see more of you speak. But the last answer to that is that you should have just lots of speaking clips. Most bureaus, most agents, they just want to see a 5 or 10 minute, just you speaking. So you should break it apart. And HeyEddie.ai is a great example of that, is to get a lot of clips of you speaking on specific topics that are their problems and have videos ready to go. Here's a video on this. Here's a video on this. Here's a video on this as I speak about it. Cool.
Chris, Stacy has a question. Do you also show virtual clips as well in a speaker reel to show you deliver virtual work as well? Also curious ballpark for a speaker reel video with you if you share that. So,
Yeah. So just so you know, our foundational reels are $6,000. We've got a middle package that's like 15 to 17.5, and then we do signature work that's around 27,000. And those combinations depend on how much we're doing. Like April's video, we filmed with her in multiple parts of the country. We had these beautiful drone shots that took us out to the wilderness with her and like told this big, deep story about her work and her background, and especially her background with her father in terms of what led her to speak all over the world and do all of this. And she made an extra 7 figures the next year between first year and second year when the video was live. But this video took 8 months to create. And it wasn't just because videos take that long, is because we were working on the brand and the visuals, and we were waiting for those right engagements. And we were like, hey, that one is going to be in October, but we're in the middle of May. So we have videos that we can do that are done in 3 weeks. We have videos that take 2 to 3 months, depending on it. And then we have videos that take a little bit longer because we're creating that, hey, I want to go to a completely different level in my brand, my business, my everything, right? And Steven just shared the 6K option is really option. And every one of our videos is going to have that level of depth, but it's just how much we're doing to bring it to a new level. And a lot of times when it's a signature video like this, it's much more about, we have a plan to take your speaking business from where it is and grow it by several 100,000. What will help us do that?
Chris, what did you think about including virtual clips on the video, just to show that you do it rather than having a separate reel?
Exactly. It's just something you should include most of the time to show that you could do it. So like in April's video, you can see it right. Here. You can see that we just show it.
Leaders and teams and organizations better understand what's on the horizon and how they.
We just want to basically cue them, and we love to pair it with like, here's live.
Better understand what's on
here's virtual. And we just tell them and visually show them it can be done both.
That's cool.
So we try to always include, not always, but as often as possible, I always want to see that you can do it virtually, because if you've been working with me, I'm telling you, do those virtual trainings after, which is going to grow the revenue a lot this year. And so we want to visually show them that this is something we'll do.
So Chris, my goodness, you have shared all the gold here in our 3 hours. We have 5 minutes left. I would love to hear in the chat box, what is one thing you are going to do to take action on what you learned today? So hang on, they're going quick. Thanks for sharing those slides again too. Christine is going to work with you, Chris. That is not a surprise. One piece of action that you are going to take as a result of today's presentation. I have to pick up the kids. Thank you. Bye, Greg. Thank you for letting us know. Revisit my website homepage to tell my story. Review my website and contact. Fine-tune my brand script. Next steps after keynote with company. Be more clear on my steps and my updating process. Do not lay this out on the website for people really well. Updating my website, work on my speaker reel, launch my website before the year's out, do the 6 questions. So good. I have a ton of notes that I'm going to share with my team. And we are going to prioritize the gems. Love it, Amir. Buying a new domain for my speaker site. This was so amazing. Love the 3-hour Power Pack session. Thank you so much. Make adjustment on the website. Beautiful. Chris, oh my gosh, this was so great. I'm going to put my email in as well. If anybody would like to connect, we can do that. And I want to say that I'm grateful for you, sir. And I'm grateful for all of these people taking their time, 3 hours with us on a Friday for me afternoon, and learning here today and giving us their beautiful, beautiful energy. Thanks for being here, Warren. Chris, final words.
I think more than anything, everybody, it just comes down to action. And what we've seen and what you can show in neuroscience is this: 3 steps in the wrong direction moves you so much more closer to where you want to go than not moving at all.
Yeah.
You learn as you go. And so you don't need to invest a lot or take a bit of stuff. It's like, what's the first step? What's the next person I can reach out to? Sometimes people reach out to me or Jane and they're just like, I'm probably 6 months away, but can I talk with you for 30 minutes? And we have a conversation. They learn something they can take action on and they do. It's just like, above all, the number one rule is do something, take action.
So there's only 2 things required to have success in the speaking industry. Number 1 is an all-in mindset.
Yep.
Number 2 is consistent action.
Yes.
That's it. And we've given you a bunch of things on both of those and things that you can be taking action on today. Chris, thanks for doing this. It was so
Thanks,
fun,
everybody.
as usual. And we're going to sign off saying we're going to send out the replay with all the goods. So if you missed anything, make sure that you keep an eye out for your emails. And with that, we're going to say thanks for being here, and we'll see you soon, Wealthy Speakers. Bye for now, everyone.
Bye, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.